After a successful trip in Austin where I won the largest pot of the year of over $65,000, I'm back in Las Vegas looking to keep the run good going against the local grinders and tourists at Bellagio. I buy into the 5-10 game for $2,500, that's the max. Hopefully we can run up a stack before going to the UNLV football game tonight. The session begins at 11:49 in the morning. Shortly into it, we're dealt King Jack of diamonds in the under the gun straddle. Player in middle position raises to 50. The button calls. 3-betting or calling are both reasonable options. I call for 30 more to close the action and see a flop. We're out of position against two opponents. The dealer puts out Queen Jack 7 rainbow. We've got middle pairings and backdoor draws. I checked the initial pre-flop raiser. He's often going to connect with this board fairly well. I don't anticipate him bluffing a ton when he has two opponents though. The middle position player bets 110. I don't particularly like seeing him bet, but we won't be folding if the button folds. The button calls, which complicates things for us. There's a very good chance that at least one of them has a queen or better. There's no clear path to victory for us unless we get lucky and drill a jack. A king isn't a clean out for us because one of our opponents might hit a straight with ace-10 or 10-9. I keep things simple and fold. I bring the camera up to get a shot of the board and see what the turn would have been. The dealer puts out the queen of hearts, pairing the board and reducing the amount of combos containing queens that our opponents might have. I'll freeze it here because this is when I stop filming, but the middle position player bets 250. He only has 550 behind. The button is okay getting it in. He jams for 800 effective, representing trips or better. It's hard for him to be bluffing in this spot because the middle position player doesn't have much more in his stack, and he's getting a good price. The middle position player folds. The button probably had us beat the whole way. I'm glad that we folded on the flop. A bit later, we're dealt King Jack suited under the gun +1 with the straddle on. I raised to 50. The under the gun straddler is a funny guy who tends to play higher stakes mixed games, but he's killing time at the moment hanging out with us. He wants to provide some entertainment for you guys. He calls blind.
I tell you what, I want you to go. Let's go. We gotta make this vlog fun. Further the park.
It's down to two of us. We're playing against two completely random, never before seen cards. The opponent doesn't even know what he has. The flop comes King 10-10 rainbow. We've got top pair and some backdoor draws. The probability of us having the best hand against a player who called blind is very high. Under the gun checks. We're going to be going for value. I bet 20. Under the gun says that he'll continue to call without looking as long as we keep the bets small. He stays true to that and calls. The turn is the 6 of diamonds. It's a blank. Under the gun checks. I'm going to try to bet an amount that's hopefully small enough to keep our opponent calling blind.
50. Yeah, that's too big, man. If you were 20 or 30.
30, man.
Oh, wow. That's phenomenal.
Well, we don't like hearing that. The opponent looks at his cards for the first time, and they're at least good enough to stick around. Under the gun calls. Maybe he has a flush draw of some sort. I doubt he'd say that the first card is phenomenal. If it were a 10, I think he'd keep trips to himself. The river is the queen of clubs. I'm okay with it because it's at least not a diamond. Under the gun checks. With all the table talk, I've forgotten what our kicker was. I actually think that I'm holding king-queen, which is what I had the hand right before, and king-queen is too strong of a hand to check back against someone who started out not looking at his cards. I bet 120. The thing with guys who play blind and tell you that they're playing blind is that they're often still going to attempt to win the hand. Often, they're going to have to go out of their way to do that. Under the gun takes a play out of his mixed game strategy and puts in the min check raise to 240. I'm in disbelief that somehow our opponent is strong enough to raise us for value on the river with almost all Broadway cards on the board after I raised pre-flop from early position and bet all 3 streets. I don't get the sense that we're best, but I wouldn't be able to live with myself if it turns out to be a bluff and I fold the winner. I also admire the fact that the opponent played blind until facing a bet on the turn.
You just deserve it. You win.
Yeah. How did they get there? Just blind? Oh wait, I thought I had king queen actually. Anyway, not that it matters a ton, but
play a blind hand.
nice hand. That was one of the more ridiculous hands that I played. I can't even beat someone who's playing mostly blind. Under the gun truly deserves the win. It's pretty amazing to wake up with ace-jack and drill the gutter before getting max value. I lose several hundred. I almost certainly would have lost less if the opponent looked at his cards from the beginning because I probably would have checked back 1 or more streets. I run cold for a while and add on for 800 before picking up ace-king of clubs in the small blind. I'm in for 3,300 total. The button raises to 30. The button is a different player than the one who had previously been sitting on our right who beat us blind. The new button is a younger viewer named Ethan. I'm just meeting him for the first time today. We need to teach Ethan a lesson. I 3-bet to 140. Evidently, it's not quite enough. Ethan probably isn't into cryptids at all. He definitely doesn't believe that we've got a monster. He 4-bets to 330. I'm not going to be folding. There's a good chance that we're best, or we're also up against ace-king. Maybe we're flipping against queens or jacks. I put in a big 5-bet to 1200. I'm not backing down. If the button woke up with one of the 6 total combos of aces and kings, good for him. We're going to be getting it in. Our opponent has 2645 total. We have him slightly covered. He 6-bet rips it for about 1400 more. My decision was already made up about what to do when we're getting almost 3-1. I snap call.
Let's just go once.
Ethan has us beat at the moment with pocket kings. It's the second worst case scenario, but we're still going to win a third of the time, so we're not in terrible shape. When I'm playing 5-10 and filming, I prefer to only run it once because it's way more interesting when blood is drawn. Whether it's going to be mine or his is yet to be determined. We're in a pot over $5,000 and we need some help. The flop comes 7-5-4 with 2 spades. We completely brick it. We don't even have a backdoor flush draw. We're going to need to hit runner straight or 1 of 3 aces. The turn is the jack of hearts. It's no help. We're down to the final card. Otherwise, we're going to double up the opponent and lose over $2,600. The river is the ace of diamonds, giving us the win. It's a gross run out for Ethan. I have mixed feelings about it. Against most other opponents, I'd be much happier to win. Against a viewer in his 20s who may not play a ton of 5-10, I don't feel nearly as good about it. We get a count of both of our stacks just to make sure that we get everything right. We indeed have the button slightly covered. The decision to only run it once pays off huge. We win the entire pot. Rather than being stuck over $3,000, we're up over $2,000 on the session.
Okay, thanks.
If you zoom in right now, you get him unsubscribing.
You lost a family.
Yeah.
We've now got close to 5,500 in front of us. After taking the rough beat, Ethan asked me if he can get a $2,500 golden passport that I've been talking about in the last several videos that allow people entry into the $5 million free roll this December at the Win. I checked with my WPT contacts. They informed me that I'm not allowed to give them away at my discretion like that. I still have the final 10 golden passports to give away though. The only way for people to win at this point is to sign up to ClubWPTGold.com using promo Brad to be eligible for the last drawing. I have more information and a link in the description box below. There's no purchase or deposit necessary. I've already given away over 100 golden passports and this is the last chance to get your name drawn, so be sure to take advantage of it. We're also going to be giving away a McLaren for free at the WPT this December. It's going to be pretty awesome. Next, we're dealt 5-3 suited in the big blind. Under the gun raises to 30. His nickname is Sunshine. We'll be going to the football game later with him. I call for 20 more. We're heads up, out of position. The flop comes ace, jack, deuce, rainbow. We've got a gutter to the wheel and a backdoor flush draw on a board that typically won't be great for us. I check to the pre-flop raiser on our left. Under the gun makes a tiny bet at 20, knowing that I'll often have low and medium suited connectors that aren't going to do well on this flop. We happen to have enough going on for us here though. I call the small wager. The turn is the queen of diamonds, potentially giving us a lot more outs. I check. Our opponent turns up the heat a little with a bet of 70. Under the gun should be playing a narrow range of hands from early positions, so I like the fact that the ace and queen of diamonds are accounted for because it significantly reduces the likelihood of us potentially getting flush over flushed. The opponent won't have hands like king 6 or jack 7 of diamonds when he raises pre-flop from under the gun. If he has a flush draw at all, he's only going to have one of a few combos like king jack, king 10, jack 10, and maybe king 9, jack 9, or 10-9 of diamonds. If the ace were a different suit, he could have any combo of ace x of diamonds, which would make things a lot dicier for us. I call. The pot is getting to be pretty big now. The river is the 8 of diamonds, giving us a very sneaky backdoor flush. I check. Ordinarily, all the high cards out there won't be good for us, and it'll regularly be great for the under the gun player. Sunshine goes with a fairly large sizing of 180. There's a bigger sizing than I anticipated from the opponent. I was planning to potentially check raise, but now I'm concerned that we could be beat, or we might not be able to get called by too many hands worse than ours. I also don't want to get re-raised, then have to face a tough decision. I play it safe this time and call with the small flush. Our opponent doesn't suspect that we're as strong as we are.
Easy. No good.
We crack pocket aces, hitting runner flush to beat top set. We miss out on some value by not raising on the river, but we still take down a nice pot. We're running great today overall. It's nice to make some big hands at the right time in order to build up a big stack. It's time for a double board bomb pot. We've got Jack 6 offsuit in the cutoff. Something about this hand just makes me want to do something wild, like storm the Capitol. Not sure why. We're playing 5-handed. All of us put in $30 each and we go straight to 2 flops. The first flop is Jack 5-3 rainbow. We've got top pair and a backdoor straight draw. The second flop is Ace King 4 rainbow. We have almost nothing there. Checks us. The thing that's interesting about double board hold'em is that it's often extremely tough to be strong on both boards. People tend to play very cautiously. I like to play into that by betting frequently to put pressure on the other 4 players. I bet 50. It's not all that large of a bet. If we can get someone to fold a king or 4 on the bottom board, that's a big win for us. The button, small blind, and big blind fold. The middle position player calls. It's our buddy Ethan. It's now down to heads up. The first turn is the 6 of clubs, giving us top 2 pair. The second turn is the deuce of clubs. We continue to have nothing on that board. Our opponent checks. If the middle position player had a strong hand like ace-jack or a set on either flop, he might have bet or check raised at that point. I'm confident that our 2 pair is best on the top board, but that only allows us to win half the pot. I want to try to get our opponent to fold if he has us beat on the bottom board, where it's tough for us to have the winning hand. This way, we win the whole pot. I bet 140. It's a large enough sizing to make the opponent uncomfortable. If he has something like ace-8, for example, he won't know if he's good on either board. He has to be concerned that we might fire a much larger bet on the river as well. Ethan shows the ace of spades face up as he folds. We accomplish our goal to win the whole pot. I don't blame Ethan for making the laydown.
I had you on the other board, but I was gonna bomb river.
In this one, we're dealt ace-deuce offsuit in the small blind. I limp in for 10. You often hear me say that you shouldn't open limp in cash games. The one exception is when it folds to you in the small blind and you're getting 3-1. The big blind is sunshine. He raises to 50. I don't realize quite how much it is at first. I call thinking it's only 30 more. Even for $40, I should be folding ace-deuce and ace-3 offsuit, but I don't. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes ace-10-9 with 2 clubs. We've got top pair and a backdoor flush draw. I check. The big blind down bets to 40. A lot of the time, we'll be raising pre-flop with our suited aces and higher offsuit combos containing an ace, so there's kind of a rare instance in which we'll have top pair after we limp call pre-flop. Our opponent is aggressive. I'm feeling good about the strength of our hand, for right now at least. I call to see the turn. The dealer puts out the king of clubs. We pick up the weak flush draw, another high card that doesn't connect with our hand after the big blind raised pre-flop. Isn't great for us. I check. Sunshine pumps the brakes after we called his flop bet. He checks back. I love seeing that. The river is another 10, it pairs the board. I don't like it because our opponent could have some queen 10 or jack 10 type of hands that he would have played this way that have improved to beat us. I check. The big blind doesn't check back this time. He overbets 200 to get revenge on me for hitting runner flush on him earlier. I'm very tempted to call because our top pair feels a bit under-repped. We have a pure bluff catcher though. We beat no hands the opponent would play this way for value. There's no need for us to try to be a hero. I fold. Sunshine doesn't show, but he lets me know that he had a good hand. I tell him that I folded an ace. He says that I made a good fold. We pick up pocket jiggies next with the straddle on for 20. It's 6-handed at the moment. We're first to act. I raised to 50. The cutoff calls. It's Sunshine. For those of you wondering, his real name's Casimir, but he used to have long blonde hair, so he was given the nickname Sunshine, like the character from Remember the Titans. Ethan is the under-the-gun straddler. He calls for 30 more. We're going 3 ways to the flop. It comes 9-9-6 rainbow. It's not a bad one for pocket jacks. At least there are no overcards out there. As long as we're not up against trip 9s or pocket 6s, we should be best. Under-the-gun checks. Our hand benefits from protection. I make a small bet of 40. The cutoff calls. Small bets are more likely to get raised than large ones, so I'm not completely caught off guard to see Ethan put in check raise to 130. Maybe he has a 9. Maybe he's making a play, maybe he has a hand like 7-6 suited or pocket 8s and wants to know where he's at. We're getting a great price with what will fairly often be the best hand. I call for 90 more. I'm slightly worried that the cutoff's been slow playing trips or a full house, but he folds, relieving those concerns. It's down to heads up and we're in position. The turn is the 6 of spades. I hate seeing it since every combo containing a 6 takes the lead against us. Under the gun checks. could be drawing to just a couple of outs if the opponent has either a 9 or a 6. I'm not falling for this trap. I check back. The river is the jack of spades, giving us the best full house possible. It's totally hidden as well. This is set up nicely for us to win a big pot, especially because Ethan bets 300. He's representing a lower full house. We dreaded the thought of him having one on the turn, but things have changed. We're now hoping that he's got one. We're going to be raising and pretty much never going to be bluffing in this spot, but since we're only targeting full boats, I go with the big raise size to 1100. I'm hoping that the opponent snap calls thinking that we're chopping, but he's showing some restraint, taking his time to make a decision. I don't know if he maybe has quads or if he's considering folding something as good as a 9 for fear that he's only going to chop or lose to Jack 9 or the jiggities. When your main contribution to poker is coining a term for a hand that's extremely strong on a board like this, it's tough for the opponent to overlook the possibility of us having it. Ethan recognizes that I'm not going to be bluffing almost ever. He amazingly shows a 9 and he folds. It's great discipline from him.
Good fold, good fold.
I did have it. I had the jiggities.
Now you lost the minimum.
We're getting everyone pretty good on the river, drilling top, backdoor flushes, and a full house. Ethan has unfortunately been on the receiving end of a lot of those beats, which is partly why I showed him that he made a great laydown. I always want viewers to do well, particularly younger guys who could be taking shots. Here we look down at pocket deuces on the button with the straddle on. Ethan raises to 50 in the cutoff. Generally, I almost pure call in this situation, but we're running short on time before football starts. It'd be nice to spice things up against Ethan, partly for the vlog, and partly so he has a chance to win some money back from us. I 3-bet to 150. Ethan calls for 100 more. We're heads up in position. The flop comes ace queen 8 rainbow. Completely awful for our actual hand, but quite good for our 3-bet range. The cutoff checks. We can have hands like aces, queens, ace queen, and ace king that smash this flop. I rep those with a small bet of 110 to fold out low and medium pocket pairs that have been reduced to third pair or worse. Ethan calls, indicating that he might have some Broadway cards that connected in some way. He likely has a pair or a straight draw. The turn is the jack of spades. It's bad for us because the cutoff could have hands like king 10, 10 9, and ace jack suited that all improved. He checks. I'm still going to have lots of combinations of sets, and I can have king 10 or 10 9 suited sometimes. I've got deuces at the moment, so I'm clearly capable of 3-betting light as long as hands have a decent amount of playability. I fire one last barrel for 340 to put the opponent to the test. We might be able to fold out some one-pair hands like ace-x suited, king queen, or king jack suited. I'll be honest, I don't anticipate this working out well for us a ton of the time, but the best case scenario is that we win. The worst case scenario is that Ethan gets a good chunk of his money back from me, and I don't mind that so much after he's played well, but we run better. Ethan check raises to 1,000. Part of me enjoys the idea of ripping it as a bluff, but we're not going to do that. It's time to end the charades.
Well, try to give you some back, and I did.
Kind of slow played it. Can I see the river, please?
No. I had king 10 spades. Jesus.
That's why I need to see the river.
Drilled it. Yeah, sick. I had pocket deuces.
Thank you.
You got it.
Next, we're dealt queen 9 suited under the gun +1. I raised to 30. The button's the only caller. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes 10-8-7 with 2 spades and a diamond. We've got a straight draw with 1 over and a backdoor flush draw. I bet 50. The button's one of the few people who I don't recognize at the table, but I've played with him the whole session and I've seen that he doesn't like to give up easily. He calls. If we don't improve, I'm not going to continue firing against someone who I've assigned this profile to. The turn is the jack of diamonds, giving us the stones. We even pick up the open-ended straight flush draw. I've seen our opponent bluff often when he's been given the opportunity, so I check in order to give him some rope. There's a good chance that he has a 9 or 2 pair that he might bet for value anyway. Unfortunately, he checks back. The river is the wrong red 8, pairing the board. We no longer have the best possible hand. We're still likely good since the opponent didn't raise us on the flop like he probably would have if he had a set or 2 pair at that point. I bet 160 to make it look like I'm trying to buy it as a bluff. Maybe the opponent can find a crying call if he's got top pair or jack 10. Ultimately, he folds. We make one last strong hand. We don't get paid, but it's always fun to hit a straight, and it's been an awesome session. It's time to rack up before heading to the game. After winning 21-75, it's nice to hang out with some poker friends and watch UNLV's first game as a ranked team in the history of the program. They're playing Syracuse, which is another pretty good team. We randomly run into some people who invite us to their tailgate, which is awesome. We enjoy some of their delicious food. There's even a little bit of gambling that takes place for some small stakes. The game itself is as exciting as it gets. I don't get to do too much hanging out with the boys now that I have a baby at home, so it's exactly what I needed. Half of our group is rooting for UNLV, including me, because I went to grad school there before becoming a CPA. We score a pivotal touchdown late in the fourth quarter to take the lead. My buddy who got us the tickets is from the Northeast and is a big Q's fan. He's not as thrilled about it. Ultimately, the game goes into overtime. The atmosphere is electric. Most of us at Allegiant want UNLV to get its first victory as a ranked team, but Syracuse keeps fighting to find a touchdown that seals the win for them. There were a lot of bets that were made between our group. I luckily stayed out of those. My friends who were rooting for Syracuse ended up getting a huge victory. Despite my team losing, I'm happy for my buddy Kevin who got us the tickets. It was thrilling until the very end. Aside from the outcome of an overtime loss, it was a great day of poker and hanging out with friends. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons. It helps out the channel a ton. I'm in Hollywood, Florida at the Hard Rock here. I'm about to play the WPT Championship event, and I was going to put out a vlog today, but ClubWPT Gold has given me 25 golden passports to give out that are extra, and it's a Black Friday special. The winners are going to be drawn December 2nd, and they're worth $2,500 each, so that's $62,500. Ignore what I said earlier in this vlog that I only had 10 more left to give out because I was just giving an extra 25 to give to you guys if you sign up to ClubWPT Gold using promo Brad. So be sure to do that before those winners are drawn on the 2nd. And good luck to you, man. ClubWPT Gold is a site that's for US players where you can play for cash and other prizes. The site isn't fully up and running yet. We're about to do some beta testing in December, but we need to get some signups, and hopefully in January is when it's going to launch. So I have more information in the description box down below, but take advantage of this golden passport giveaway that'll get you entrance into the win in like 2 weeks for the World Championship. Hey, what's up, man? So I can't wait to Raj. Oh my God, this is one of my oldest friends. How are you doing, dude? I love coming to these stops, seeing people that I've known forever. But yeah, one of my friends from Vegas when I first moved out there. Anyway, hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you're staying safe. Good luck at the tables, and I'll see you next time.